titled Changing Face of Communications. We'll request the President of the Bengal Chamber, Mr. Shutanu Ghosh, to please deliver the welcome address.
All the dignitaries present in this room this morning, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all today to what the Chamber believes would be an extremely enlightening and fulfilling day for us all. The Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the oldest chamber of commerce in India, is proud to present the Bengal Chamber's marketing conclave titled Changing Face of Communications today. As you all may be aware, the Chamber has, over the years, very successfully organized workshops, events, activations, et al., with the intention to promote trade, commerce, and industry in the region. Moreover, a lot of our initiatives are aimed at improving the knowledge base amongst the audience. The Chamber, as India's oldest chamber of commerce and one of the leading representatives of industry and commerce in Bengal, has taken this initiative to organize this marketing conclave in an attempt to make the members, as well as the marketing, advertising, and brand community in Kolkata, more aware of the phenomenal opportunity the world of brands present today. Today, more than 40% of the world's population is online, a tenfold increase over the last 17 years. Facebook now has over 1.4 billion active users monthly. YouTube gets more than 300 hours of video content uploaded every minute, and over 500 million tweets are added to the Twitter timelines every single day. Interestingly, all three of them, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, did not even exist a decade ago. Increasingly, we are today in an interconnected world, and this is changing rapidly as to how we interact with each other. In India, today the media and entertainment industry reaches millions of people, 168 million TV households, 94,000 odd newspapers with about 12,000 dailies, a little bit over 2,000 multiplexes. By 2017, we're expected to have over 400 million wireless internet users, and the stats go on. The media and entertainment industry has been a catalyst for the growth of large parts of the Indian economy as it entertains and keeps the country informed. In the last few years, the impact of technology and the growth of digital media, e-commerce and entertainment options have ushered in a fundamental change in consumerism. Today, it is all about understanding the consumer journey. Two pillars that complete the consumer purchase funnel, watch and buy, are colliding and soon will create one connected world. Most companies are crafting solutions for multi-device targeting, connecting them, and convincing consumers in different ways, and finally making the product available to consumers at easy access points. This new ecosystem is evolving quite rapidly, and for businesses to survive, the only way is to be present in it so that when convergence does happen, they are not caught unprepared. We need to be seamlessly present in our messaging and distribution as the consumer is already present in multiple platforms. The big picture of how marketing and communications will evolve in the era of the connected consumer over the next few years is difficult to gauge, but what we do know is that the world of the consumer would change in an unprecedented manner. And what made companies successful in the past will not make them so in the future. The real question facing the marketeers today is, are we thinking and preparing for that change? With the galaxy of celebrated media, marketing and advertising professionals who have gathered in here today to come and speak in today's conclave, we are sure that the audience would have formed an opinion by the end of the day. On a personal note, I strongly feel that communications, I think, is the key. Clear communication is the key to entangle and to avoid any misunderstanding or any misconceptions about anything. The key is smooth handling and smooth handling just requires clear communications. On the flip side of what I said just now, we were working with a British company in a very important Calcutta Environment Management Strategy and Action Plan about a decade and a half ago. And I said just what I just mentioned to a colleague of mine, a Canadian, Jamie Simpson, and I told Jamie, with the kind of leapfrogs happening in the communication system, international travel is going to be cut down immensely. This is the remark that I made. And Jamie, who was very witty and was full of humor, very sharp, immediately quipped, "Shutanu, nothing will ever replace a handshake and a glass of beer in the evening." Thank you.
Now I'll request Mr. Anup Hun, Chairperson of Marketing and Brand Committee of the Bengal Chamber, to please set the tone of the day.
Good morning and welcome. I must first thank all the speakers who've taken time off to travel to Calcutta. We are not a city where it gets too many events, and we really look forward to having events and sessions like this. I know it's a Saturday. I know it's family time, and if you sacrifice that, I know there is a risk involved and there is a cost involved. Thank you for taking on the risk. Anyway, you'll pay the cost when you get back home. Okay? The Shotanu has actually given you a broad brush picture of what the communications world holds in the future. Let me set a perspective which is a little different and actually goes back in time. Knowledge, to my mind, is the fulcrum of change. Knowledge is empowerment. It's very interesting to study the knowledge doubling curve. At the expense of taking a few minutes, between 00 AD and 1750 AD, human knowledge multiplied twice. So it took 1750 years. Between 1750 and 1900, it again multiplied twice, just taking 150 years. Between 1900 and 1953, in 53 years, it actually multiplied again twice. So the time period became shorter. Why 53? Is the discovery of the DNA. That's the year where James Watson and Crick were awarded the Nobel Prize for discovering the DNA. And then you see knowledge multiplied by 1965. So it came down to 15 years. The next multiplier is 1975, right, which is again multiplying by 2. Now, if you also look simultaneously at the ages, I'll start at 1880 when they say is the beginning of the machine age. 65 years of the machine age till 1945. Then you have the atomic age. Just 20 years. 1965 came the space age. Then you look at how long did the space age last? Just 10 years. And 1975 began the process of the information age. And then things moved rapidly, and really rapidly. You had the multimedia age, you have the big data age, you had the social age, one after another. It was fast, it was furious, it was overlapping. Each one aiding and abetting the other to grow. In an article which was written in 2014, they said that data computation capability globally, right, doubles in 11 months, right? Now, data is to knowledge what sand is to silicon. So can we say that actually knowledge has begun to multiply twice in about 11 to 12 months? Okay. Now, if that is the pace at which things are changing, knowledge obviously, other than empowerment, leads innovation, but it also leads consumer behavior. It helps people make choices, right? So knowledge has become the biggest catalyst for change. And very, very simply, that consumer outside is telling all of us a very simple thing. Tell me more. As simple as that. Let me switch to the next part, which is what happened to media. And I'll begin the journey in 1980. a very sedate kind of a scene. You had the print media, and that's where your choices all lay. Radio was prevalent. Of course, the age of the transistor slung on the shoulder in rural India captivated everyone's imagination. And of course, television was a single channel, which we talked about. 1986, major part, two-thirds of India glued to television, 9 p.m., Bunyad, Laloji, and Master Haveli Ram, if any of you remember, right? And for us in marketing, it was very, very simple. Because if your agency had the right get to man at Mandi House, and you got 4 spots for 8 weeks, wow, man, you've done it. That's all you required to do. Then came the 24th of July, 1991, when Manmohan Singh talked about reforms and the opening of the Indian economy. What he did unleash on that day, the 24th of July, 1991, was a very hungry Indian consumer, right? And that consumer was ready to take on the world. And much as the consumer was ready to take on the world, the selling person, the marketing persons were ready to act. And another interesting thing happened, and that happened in the city of Calcutta, and that's why I take time to mention it. 31st of July, 1995, when the first cellular call was made in India, none other than the Chief Minister then, Jyoti Basu, makes that call to the Union Telecom Minister, the rather infamous Sukhram. I'm sure, I can say it very confidently, that when Jyoti Basu did, the late Jyoti Basu did hold that mobile phone in his hand and spoke, little did he realize that the future of civilization is what he held in his hand, right? And after that, all the changes that we see, the numerous communication platforms, from a very simple ATL, BTL, and on the line, you today have a world where digital India is the buzzword which you talk about. And then, something very interesting has happened. Very regularly, I get to hear about the Internet of Things, IoT, right? So at every forum that you go, somebody other is going to mention it in some way or the other. The year is 2004, when Intel, I'm talking about the chemical process industry, right? Where till 2004, you had a protocol which was called the DCS, the Digital Control System. So all the instruments in a process control factory actually responded to the control room, right? And then came this change in 2004, when the instruments began to talk to each other and talk to the control room, and the protocol was called Field Bus. I remember reading a 3-liner then, and it said very, very simply, just oppose the power of the internet on this, and can you imagine the prototype which will emerge? And the prototype, when you really think back, if I am synchronizing all instruments of usage or devices, right, and they not only respond to each other, but also respond to a mother panel, right, then the Internet of Things is on, right? The first one to go and exploit is Apple. And then, of course, today when we talk of IoT and how IoT is going to engulf our world and how we are all going to be part of it, my own conclusion to these things is that if you want to visualize or vision the future in a logical sequence, look at what technology you have today, keep juxtaposing one on the other, and tomorrow arrives. Let me move to the content part. Now, for a very long time in my career, or the longest time in my career, I worked for Asian Paints. So my journey on content is really going to be talking about Asian Paints, its communications, advertising in the earlier part, and because that's a subject I think I know. But I'm going to take you back to 1957. One of the first advertisements which Asian Paint took out was for a product. What really was happening was that you had 3 kinds of stuff which was there. You had the lime wash, chuna jisko kehte, you had the dry distemper, and you had a very minuscule plastic emulsion market meant for the richer rich. And dry distemper was a terrible experience. You know, if you got your house done in dry distemper, the next 3 days you couldn't live there. It was smelly, it burnt your eyes. The lady at the house hated it. And obviously, you know, if you wanted it done every 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, it was quite a challenge as far as the family was concerned. So the company came up with a product called washable distemper, right? So none of that at reasonable cost. And the ad read, don't lose your temper, use tractor distemper. Simple, straightforward. You got a problem? I'll fix it. That's it. You then had the 70s where you talked about products and attributes. You have a very interesting phase, which I say the period in advertising and agencies, with all due apologies, which I call intellectual indulgence, you know, and that is the beginning of the 80s, when you really took out intellectual stuff, you know. And one of those campaigns was a campaign of Asian Paints called In Search of Excellence. Very good. 2 years out of B school, we saw that stuff and we said, wow, this is really good. So, it was the print media that you talked about, and that was the first national large campaign that Asian Paints was doing. And you also wanted to do a dipstick in the marketplace to find out what is happening. And meanwhile, while the dipstick was on, the agency was gathering a lot of silver in their almaras and accolades, and wow, this campaign is damn good. So a dealer's response from Karol Bagh in Delhi said it all. So he says, you know, the branch manager and one of the seniors, the regional manager, had gone and asked him, you know, because these posters had been put up in his shop, and they asked him, what do you feel about this campaign, In Search of Excellence? So, you know, in that Punjabi English kind of manner, he says, search का मतलब क्या होता है? तो कहते खोज. तो he says, ये अब क्यों बता रहे हो? जब खोज पूरी होगी तब बताना ना. अभी क्यों हम लोग को बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हो? So that was kind of advertising which actually fulfilled all your intellectual needs, did nothing as far as the brand is concerned, right? Didn't touch product sales by a whisker, okay? But I think the whole community got over it in a span of 2-3 years, and it all ended. I'll cut and come to 1993, a campaign where you said, you know, you now have a number of channels, right? And I think it's time we started talking to the consumer. Research also told you that for getting a house painted, the decisions were largely made by the lady of the house, right? So which color, which you wanted, etc., etc. I can see Samir looking at his wife at the back. That's true, Samir, right? So, you know, we said, you know, how are they going to behave? And, you know, we figured out that if a lady goes to a blouse matching center with this lovely cream sari which Samir has presented to his wife, and she's looking for a blouse. Now, she's going to go through, you know, some 80, 100, right, kinds of shades of cream, see it in sunlight, see it in white light, see it in tube light, all kinds of yellow light. And then finally, she's going to point the finger at one and say, yehi hai mera wala cream, right? So that began the dialogue directly, right? And it was mera wala cream. So it was the consumer's cream. You began talking it and saying, this is what the consumer needs. You, of course, have har ghar kuch kehta hai, which is also true. But interestingly, all that has changed. You know, when Home Solutions came, people were imagining that this was just a service, right? I beg to differ. I think consumers today are looking for solutions, they're looking for services. They're not looking just for products. As people sitting in marketing, my own mind tells me that it's important that each of us see the business decisions which organizations are making, right? And the reason I say this is, 2 years ago, Asian Paints went and acquired a small company called Sleek Kitchens, right? Last year, at the beginning of 2016, they went and acquired a sanitary hardware fittings company called ESS, right? Which actually tells you that they are imagining to become a solution provider, right? So is it only going to be products, or is it going to be solutions which are going to be the order of the day, right? I've raised a lot of questions. I do hope, and I'm sure all the panels will together be able to answer them. As far as the consumer is concerned, the more you tell him, the happier he is, right? The more transparently you tell him, the better it is. Aggressive marketing is not really the order of the day, right? And I think the consumer is going to be more demanding, more informed, and certainly going to be one who's going to be very equipped with all the knowledge in the world. Thank you very much. I need to mention that three of our speakers today, ill health. Dr. Shekhar Shah, the Director General of NCER, is down with chikungunya in Delhi, right? And there's little you can do about that. Professor Mukherjee, the IIM Lucknow Dean, it's food poisoning and high fever. And Partho Sinha is also down with a viral. I think we can do very little about these things, and we wish all three of them a quick recovery and good health, but we certainly will miss their inputs here. And I do hope you enjoyed the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for introducing the theme of today's conclave. And you will have another company now. So here we welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Samir Satpathy, CEO, Product Personal Care Products Business, ITC Limited. He is a postgraduate from XIM Bhubaneswar. Starting his career with Calcutta-based Berger Pens, he moved on to head marketing for Indian FMCG major, Marico Industries, before relocating to Kolkata as COO, Personal Care Business of ITC Limited. He has taken over as CEO, Personal Care Products Business of ITC Limited from April 1st, 2016. So we welcome Mr. Satpathy.
Morning, Calcutta. Great to be back. This is a topic which most marketeers obsess about, is about change. Because they don't want to be taken off guard. They don't want to be taken by surprise. And something which Mr. Hoon said just took me back to my days as a marketing manager 10 years back or 12 years back. And we were doing this concept testing in Punjab. And we were trying to look at a concept of a new value-added milk with omega, which was good for your heart, which made your heart healthy. So we were doing this focus group, and we had this bunch of Punjabi ladies who were listening to us very patiently. But somewhere, you kind of got a feeling that they were not completely getting it. So in the end, the moderator was not making too much, headway. So as an enthusiastic marketing manager, I thought I'll step in and, help the process along. So I tried to explain to this lady, and I still remember her name, Mrs. Baines. So she looked at me and she said it in, in a typical Punjabi way. He said, "Sir ji, ये मैंने गाय का दूध सुना है, भैंस का दूध सुना है, बकरी का दूध भी सुना है, पर ये ओमेगा का दूध क्या होता है?" Then you realize maybe the consumers are still not ready for this, right? So I think that's something which as marketers you do. So I'll try and take you through this journey of changing consumer and media. So is the consumer changing? And why is he changing? I think some of the things have been talked by the keynote speakers. Greater aspiration, media explosion, greater urbanization, nuclear families because today children have a say, higher incomes. I may want something, but I need to have money to pay for it. Changing social norms, and of course, the mobile phone. So these are things which together are changing a lot of what we see, a lot of what we do, and something which Anup also talked about, of the acceleration of the consumer and the change which we are seeing and in consuming habits. So I thought it's a good time to take a step back and look at this change. So I'm taking you a little journey and look at how the consumer has changed. I'm using advertising, I think, because advertising really reflects what's happening in society. So I'll show you a piece of communication which some of you would have seen.
ना ना 4 नहीं 3 रुपए ना, मैं तो 3 रुपए दूंगी बस।
ललिता जी, आप हमेशा सोच समझ कर ही खर्च करती हैं ना?
हाँ बेशक।
फिर भी आप सर्फ खरीदती हैं।
देखिए भाई साहब, सस्ती चीज खरीदने में और अच्छी चीज खरीदने में फर्क होता है।
वो कैसे?
तोल मोल के हिसाब से देखिए तो आधा किलो सर्फ पूरे 1 किलो सस्ते पाउडर के बराबर होता है। इसलिए सर्फ की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है।
और धुलाई?
सर्फ से कपड़े सबसे अच्छे और सफेद नजर आते हैं। इस नन्हे नटखट के भी।
लेकिन पैसे?
भाई साहब, अब थोड़े से रुपए बचाने के लिए मैं इतना सब कुछ क्यों छोड़ दूं? क्यों? हाँ? रवि, ए भैया ठीक से तोलो।
ललिता जी ठीक कहते हैं, सर्फ की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है।
When you look at this woman in the 80s and the 70s, she was usually a housewife. She was not working. The way she defined and how she contributed to the family was by making these smart choices, by saving money, by getting more value. And this was very aspirational at that point of time. But if I were to ask women today, is this aspirational? Is this something which you identify with? I would find very few people in this audience who would get up and say yes. Because individuality as women are concerned is very, very different. So how do you sell individuality to today's women?
भैया आप इस सुनसान गली से नहीं, सीधा लॉन्ग कट से लीजिएगा। बस यार, one more year of work and then marriage and settle down. तू बता क्या चल रहा है? हाँ, मीडिया से हूँ, सिंगल हूँ, लेकिन आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होगी। नो लेट नाइट्स, नो मेन, नो लाउड म्यूजिक, और रेंट भी हमेशा टाइम पे दूंगी। स्लाइड 53 चेक किया क्या? मीटिंग में रेड लिपस्टिक लगाएंगे? Are you mad? I know you and Arvind are both VPs now, but the salary structure cannot change. It's HR policy. I hope you understand. चलो अभी सब मेरे साथ बोलेंगे, मम्मी जी की रोटी गोल, पापा जी का पैसा गोल।
मम्मी जी की रोटी गोल, पापा जी का पैसा गोल।
अभी हंस ले यार, कल से तो तू तेरी बीवी की शॉपिंग बैग से उठाएगा। Everyone is staring. जीन्स ही पहन ली होती यार। समझाओ कुछ उसे, अब बच्ची नहीं रही है वो। लड़कों वाली हरकतें छोड़ के घर के कामकाज में मदद करें। Yes, definitely. I'm sorry, but people will think. लोग क्या कहेंगे? समझाओ कुछ उसे। I'm fine. I'm okay. Thank you. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm sorry. ये आवाज है एक समझौते की, एक आदत, एक दौर, एक तरीके की। ये आवाज है औरत की खामोशी की, उससे रखी गई हर अनुचित उम्मीद की। ये आवाज है हम सबकी, और इतना बोल के भी हम सब चुप हैं। अब
उसे बोलने दो।
अब समझौता नहीं।
When you see the messaging, you know, hey, maybe this reflects some of the thinking which maybe women are thinking about. Some of the issues which is important to them. And as a brand, to take a stance and to support such a thing, obviously will create some preference for the brand. But what I would also like to bring your notice to is that, is this a commercial? is some 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. There's no advertising agency involved. From concept to execution, it took us 5 days. As far as my cost of doing something like this is 1/3 of the cost of making a regular commercial. The creative control is not completely with the brand. It's not there with Mr. Bachchan. It's not there with some other people involved in the process, but it's a very collaborative process. You're not going to see it on television. If somebody does want to see it, they go to a certain place, they see it, they share it with their friends. So if you like what you see, you're going to send it to your friends, they're going to see it. So yes, marketing has changed. The way we communicate has changed. The skill sets required have changed. The number of players in the room have increased. Today we don't have, even in ITC, have conference rooms large enough to get all the players in together. Because there are a lot of people involved in this process. But that's what the world is heading to. You can't intrude into people's lives. They have to invite you in. Content is king. Not being, I'm using the word creative, is not an option. They're not going to see. So some of you would have seen this guy on the t-shirt. This is Calcutta. Right? Yeah. So when you see him, what does he symbolize? On that? Yes, freedom. Absolutely. Think about freedom. Think the symbol of freedom. Gorillas are a symbol of freedom. Now the question is, if you have to sell freedom to a gorilla, how do you do that? So it is paradoxical as a question, but I think there's a great example here which I want to share with you, and I'll talk you through that.
holiday season, his government is using a different strategy. This video shows soldiers decorating trees with Christmas lights deep in the jungle. Says that December is a very important month in their ongoing campaign against the guerrillas.
Un comando de la Fuerza de Despliegue Rápido adornó con luces un árbol de 25 metros en medio de la selva.
Los uniformados bajaron de helicópteros y rodearon con luces el gigantesco árbol.
If you look over here, there's no medium. It's just an idea. It's a symbol. The people who use symbols very well actually are politicians. They're very, very careful of what they do. Everything is thought of. I don't know if you remember the first speech which Prime Minister Modi made from the Red Fort. Does anybody remember that picture with a turban? It was a tricolored turban and he was flapping in the wind. And he was standing on the Red Fort. What was he saying to us? He was telling us, I am the nation. I am the flag. He's owning the idea of India. Brands have also tried to do this. Some brands have done it well. One brand I would like to mention is ICICI. If you do the use of the Sindoor by ICICI through in life insurance, uses a symbol which is so intertwined in our culture and implicitly says that, hey, I shall protect you, I shall keep you prosperous. So that's what the sign is all about. If you see the welcome logo which ITC uses, it is a namaste. It says, hey, I welcome you. So brands do that also. But symbols cut across mediums. They are agnostic of mediums. They draw from society, they draw from our collective memories and are able to make meaning. And that's what brands do, and good brands do. Independent of mediums, they're able to draw meaning and create a certain image. Because it's very difficult to do everything from scratch. If you can borrow, why not? If I talk to you about another important thing which every brand looks for, is trust. Now what would trust be as a symbol if I look at a brand? So if I say SBI with that blue logo, is that trust? A lot of you in the audience will say yes. But now that we're talking about changing media, what do you think is today arguably the most trusted symbol or logo?
Life insurance.
Nike?
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody else?
Apple.
Apple?
It is selling from BMW.
Now if you have to really decide that, what will you do? You will go to your cell phone and ask? Because you trust Google to give you the right answer. That is trust. So previously, when two people talked, they said, hey, I bet you a beer that this is right. Today, they just say, I'll just check Google, right? So arguably, that's trust. And obviously, Google does a lot of things to keep that trust going. Because if the information is wrong, they can lose it like that. Google can't be wrong, can it? So we assume it's right. The question is, how do you build it into your brands? How do you build it into a new brand?
They failed because Google Plus failed. Even with millions of people who have been transferred, it's a huge fraud. So where is the trust?
Last August, Parachute Advanced launched a hair oil to control hair fall, targeting women in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Hair fall is big business, a fortress with over 70 brands, almost impossible to penetrate. Some made tall claims, some just did not work. The result? Confused consumers became cynical, no longer trusting advertising on face value. The task: how could we get into her intimate circle of trust? We had a little insight into her life. During problems like hair fall, she turns to friends for advice and trusts them blindly. Could we actually get a friend to recommend the brand? Sounds simple when there's a medium like Facebook, right? But these were consumers who did not even know what the internet was. We selected the most popular magazine she read. With every copy, instead of a traditional print ad, we inserted a pre-addressed envelope and a sample bottle. Women were invited to try the product and, if satisfied, use the envelope to write their recommendation to a friend and post it to us. We then sent her friend the personally handwritten recommendation letter, a small touch that added tremendous credibility to the brand. Along with it, a bottle of oil. We sent 2 more envelopes to further build a chain of recommendation. Post boxes became social media portals, sparking a viral word-of-mouth movement amongst thousands of women. Yes, the brand had entered her circle of trust through her friend. Market share zoomed in just 2 months. Chennai, the state's largest city, touched an incredible 25% share. The brand had triggered an unending social vibe, turning print into Facebook.
So the question over here is, and we keep talking about social media. It's not just about social media, it's about the principles of social media. And if we can apply it, then we can apply it to any medium. We can use that medium to what we want, as long as we are clear about what we want. The clarity of objective of what the brand is saying, what it wants to do. Then you use what is best possible within its constraints, within the constraints of its budgets, its target audience, the markets which you're operating in, the competitive construct, and create your business. If you look at nurturance and you see how motherhood has been defined by Indian advertising, you would have seen advertising like this.
रात को सर्दी मानो 6 गुना तकलीफ। विक्स वेपर अब लाभ। इसके औषधि लेबर सर्दी के 6 लक्षणों से राहत देगा। 6 असर 1 दवा, विक्स वेपर अब।
So the idea of motherhood was the mother as a protector. The mother protects the child from the elements, from the world, so that the child can grow up. If you look at the social context 25 years back, we were at a very basic stage in terms of the economy or what people could afford. Physicality played a lot of role in the society. But today, mothers are realizing that sometimes their love and protection for their children may be what sometimes constrains them from growing up.
वो आंटी, वो पड़ोसी, वो दोस्त, वो हर इंसान जिसने कहा था कि मैं बैडमिंटन के काबिल नहीं हूं। बच्चों से कभी ये ना कहना कि वो कुछ बन नहीं सकते, क्योंकि सबसे ज्यादा चोट उन्हें तभी लगती है। बाकी चोटों के लिए सैवलॉन।
The need of a parent to see his or her child grow up to full potential. So we changes of it. But there are other challenges which marketers face. Today, we live in a media-rich environment. There are a lot of messages which keep coming. So what does the marketer do? Shout louder. Now, some of you sitting over there will say, people sitting in ITC or in the Sun Unilever have a lot of money. So, they really can do this. They can go across media, they can really put in a lot of advertising. What do we do? How does the small guy win? How can we create impact in this kind of environment? So I think there's a great example here.
Introducing the Baby Stroller Test Ride by Contours. The problem with shopping for strollers is that babies can't talk to tell you what they like.
How are the ergonomics in the stroller?
And an adult certainly can't fit into a baby stroller.
Feels like a smooth ride. But that's all speculation, right? You don't know because you're not the baby.
I know.
You're not a baby in a stroller.
Right.
We created an exact adult-sized replica of one of our best-selling baby strollers and invited parents to try it, showing just how comfortable Contour strollers are for babies.
Cozy, right? Yeah, it's very cozy.
It's very comfortable.
I love it. How's it feel in there? Comfortable? It's very comfortable. Yeah, it's cozy. How's it feel in there? Comfortable? Twinkle, twinkle, little.
That's really nice.
Are you getting more comforted?
I am.
Here comes some sun. Ooh, that's the sun. Peekaboo! Okay, let me see you suck your thumb. It's cozy, right?
The Baby Stroller Test Ride by Contours.
Proves what babies have known all along, but just couldn't say.
So you don't need to be small or big to create great ideas. The ideas are there, they're there in your product, they're there in your business. They're in what you do and what you do best. It's about application of the same principles and saying, hey, what can we do which makes people want to engage with our brand, which makes people want to engage with our product, as the case may be. Or gives them an experience which just makes this over consumer just take a pause and say, hey, I want to see what these guys are saying. I think it's interesting. That's enough, that's what you need. But once you get that, you get to talking to the consumer, then the natural selling processes take over. But I think that's not what we are here for. We're not here to do marketing strategy. But I think the question we started off with is, have the consumers changed? Have the needs changed? So consumers, really look at it, there are some universal needs. These don't change. The need for love, need for respect, need for security, to be attractive, to be free. These are universal needs. They will be there till human beings exist on this planet. These don't change. But what does change across times and culture are signs and symbols around it. The mediums used to communicate. So this was play when we were growing up. This is play now. But the need to play is still the same. So as marketeers, what we need to do is watch and listen. Incorporate these new symbols and mediums to keep your brand relevant. And sometimes even create new symbols. And that's if you're iconic. And if you do that, and by connecting brands to these basic human needs, we create great brands. Thank you very much.
I think that all of what you have said ultimately, and you know, your signing off line, what made use of like. Sir, all that you say, you know, and your ultimate signing of line of changing symbols comes down basically comes down to semiotics. Basically comes down to semiotics, you know, and I think that is where the meaning is, and it is changing definitely as you showed. So my question to you is, as you said, for the new creation of symbol. If you could just a little bit of you know, underline or just clarify that. Thank you.
Serious thing for most brands and for most people is to incorporate things which exist. That's the fastest, easiest thing. So people do it in different ways. You see commercials today which use old Hindi songs. Right? So I worked a lot with Prasoon Joshi, and he always said, just opens up something which already is there. So you don't need to explain that much. But there are times when a brand label starts standing on its own and does something different. Or today, if you look at Google as a brand, or Apple as a brand, some of the brands which are there, right? They start standing for a new reality or a new age. So that is where 99.9% is actually incorporating the old in a new format.
Sir, I'm Natarajan here. Demographically, which consumer segments is more difficult to handle? Namely, children, youngsters, or senior citizens like me? Thank you.
Well, at the risk of my audience, especially women. I'll tell you why. Women are much more nuanced. They're very sure about what they want. And for them, most purchases are purposes. They think about what they buy. And the need also can be very, very nuanced. To target women, to build a beauty brand, I think is the most difficult. To build a food brand, equally difficult. May not be as difficult as a beauty brand, but it's in the same zone. That's my personal opinion.
Good evening, everybody. My question here is, I have a brand I want to promote it, I want to people to know about it. That's my basic motto, because unless people know about my brand, they won't buy it or even consider it. And in the slides that you've shown, the videos that you've shown, one particular thing that stood out to me is that while selling a hair oil, you have to go through people took the channel of normal magazines, print media. Here, in today's time, more people are obsessed about social media. So how do I identify with my brand which media would be best to go forward with? Because ultimately I have come across in all the medias, but which one to start off with to get the most people talking about me?
Yeah, go back to something Mr. Moon said, that nothing works better than a handshake and a glass of beer. That's the fastest and easiest way of doing it, right? But you can't drink that much beer. That's the problem. That's the problem starts. You have to define for yourself as to how many consumers do you want to convert to make a business viable. So once you think about that in terms of specific numbers, if it is 400 consumers in a month, then you say, how do I get to convert 400 people? What's the most efficient way I can do that? How much money do I have in my pocket? Because you have to think with one hand in your pocket, right? And then you start thinking. And that's where these constraints is what drive creativity. And then you start thinking that what is that I can do to make myself more visible, to make myself more distinctive, to make myself more unique. Right? The simplest one is when you go to the Sunday market, you have people shouting out. The principle remains the same. So people do different things, slightly different things to stand out, to engage with the consumers, to give them great service, to give them a great product, great word of mouth, recommendations. Those principles remain. Intuitively, everybody knows them. So maybe I'll go back to another anecdote of a consumer I met a long time back. 17-year-old boy, his father used to work in PDA, and he was running a shop. He was running a mobile shop somewhere in South Texas, small, in one of the slums. And he seemed to be quite successful, and he was very, very clear. He was in school, and he should run it. So I asked him this question, what you're asking me. I said, how do you succeed in business? So he looked at me and he said, sir, grahak ka dhyan rakho. I mean, it's clear. So that's what I think it's all about. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satpathy. We will now request Mr. Shritanu Ghosh to please present an memento to Mr. Satpathy.